Great, let's check that. Got everybody else on the phone. Balloon show, right?
Please rise as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Recording in progress.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone to our City Council meeting for February 21st, 2024. Great to have you all here tonight. A couple notes before we start. We do still have a few members of our staff joining virtually and certainly members of the public. So just give me a second as I toggle between our screens as needed. And we do take breaks every 90 to 120 minutes, although we have sort of a multi-meeting meeting tonight. So just if you're staying all evening, you'll hear that we're shifting between different topics towards the end, and I will walk us through that as we go. Begin every meeting with an open comment period. This is a chance for those from the public to have an opportunity to speak, and you are able to do so for up to 2 minutes for a total of 20 minutes. I'll be keeping track of time through a variety of methods, this little stop clock here and on the wall. And just a reminder that that public testimony is on items that pertain to city business that otherwise we will not, or otherwise we don't have a public hearing for. Sorry, I'm a little out of practice on my notes here. We do not respond during public comment, but if you do have something you'd like us to follow up on, please leave it with the clerk over here. If you have any materials to hand out, please hand those to the clerk as well, and she will make sure that we get those. And then you are invited to speak in the order you've signed up, and I just have one person signed up here, so I will invite Jeff Gorfine up and welcome you to introduce yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you all. I'm Jeff Gorfine of 1537 King Court Southeast. I'm here to challenge all of us who reside in Olmsted County and the surrounding region, particularly community leadership, to be more aspirational, to embrace a stronger can-do vision with respect to providing more permanent local funding to meet the enormous housing needs of our greatest and most critical resource, the people who live and work here and who do so while sometimes not making a lot of money. The point I want to make has been made to us before by the Greater Minnesota Housing Fund in a 2016 framing document for community action. It stated the ability to produce more affordable housing is constrained by local funding commitments, which are essential to leveraging state and regional dollars. A greater commitment is necessary to meet future demand. This will require leadership, partnership, cooperation, determination, and a long-term commitment from communities and stakeholders throughout Olmsted County. Further, the Greater Minnesota Housing Fund estimates that every $1 of local resources can leverage as much as $8 of private debt and equity, as well as state and other funding. Additionally, at one point, the Rochester Area Foundation's First Homes reported that between 1999 and 2008, generous businesses, governments, and individuals contributed $14 million that attracted over $100 million of private investment. I'm calling for the same level of commitment to be made for the construction of affordable rental and homeless housing. I feel in my heart that if we don't commit ourselves to work through this housing crisis, then we will be creating de facto and de jure segregation, not necessarily of a race of people, but certainly of a class of people. In essence, we will be saying to people, you can work here, but find some other place to live and raise your families. I also feel we do not want this to happen.
And it's time to wrap up. Final thought.
Just a couple more. The pledge to meet this level of commitment will require, in my opinion, local investment exceeding $100 million between now and the 2030s. The Navy Seabees motto is can do. Our motto should be you bet we can. There's no more essential infrastructure for a community than its housing. Let's get the job done. Let's do the just and right thing. Again, thank you for listening. Take care and soldier on.
Thank you, Mr. Gorfine. Would anyone else like to speak this evening? All right, we will close the public comment and officially call the meeting to order. Clerk Giesler, please call the roll.
Councilmember Keen,
Here. Councilmember Bransford,
Here.
Councilmember Wall,
Here.
Councilmember Kirkpatrick,
Here.
Councilmember Palmer,
Here.
Councilmember Dennis,
Here.
Council President Carlson,
Here.
Mayor Norton.
Present. Thank you. I will turn it over to our city administrator, Allison Zelms, for her report.
Thank you, Council President, Mayor, council members, teammates, members of the public. As we gather here today to work on city business, I begin the administrator's report as always with a reminder of our guiding principles: respect, integrity, service, and excellence. These are not just words, they are commitments to how we serve, how we lead, and how we honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in their service to our community. Today, I would ask that we pause for a special moment of reflection to honor the lives and service of three remarkable individuals: Officer Paul Elmstrand, Officer Matthew Ruge, and firefighter paramedic Adam Finseth. Each in their own way embodied the principles our Rochester teammates hold dear, dedicating their lives to the care, safety, and well-being of others. Officer Paul Elmstrand and Officer Matthew Ruge served our neighboring community of Burnsville with courage and dedication. Their bravery in the line of duty speaks volumes of their character and their unwavering commitment to protect and serve the Burnsville community and one another. Firefighter paramedic Adam Finseth, who tragically lost his life while in service, had a profound connection to our Rochester community. Adam's journey of service began here in Rochester as a lifeguard and city seasonal worker, likely inspired by his father, Brad Finseth, a devoted Rochester city teammate for nearly 3 decades until his retirement. Adam's legacy continued with his military service and as a firefighter paramedic, and is a testament to the spirit of service that runs deep within his family and our community. So let us take a moment of silence to honor the memory of Paul, Matthew, and Adam, remembering their courage, their service, and the profound impact they've had on the lives that they touched. Thank you. In their memory, we also extend our deepest gratitude to all first responders, our teammates and friends who stand ready to serve our community with a heart of courage every day. Your dedication does not go unnoticed, and today we stand in solidarity with you, recognizing the risks that you embrace and the sacrifices you make to keep us safe. To the families, colleagues, and friends of Paul, Matthew, and Adam, please know that your loss is deeply felt within our community. We offer you our thoughts, our prayers, and our unwavering support during this difficult time. Your loved ones' legacies will continue to inspire and guide us as we strive to live up to the principles of respect, integrity, service, and excellence they so vividly embodied. In closing, let us carry forward their spirit of service, remembering that each day gives us a new opportunity to make a positive impact, to protect and serve, and to honor the legacy of those we have lost by how we live and how we serve our community. Thanks. That's all I have today.
Thank you so much for that. Mayor Norton. Thank you for sharing those words. Appreciate it. I just have a few announcements and then I've got just a couple slides to show. Black History Month has been this past month, but the display was in the City Council lobby. I think all of you probably have had an opportunity to see it, and it is traveling throughout the city for the rest of the month in different locations. I believe it's out at RCTC right now. And it was an honor to be able to have that first, and it was really exciting to see so many members of our community come into the City Hall rotunda, maybe some of them for the very first time, to be able to see that display. So I just thought I'd mention we've had people in and out. We had people in and out during the whole week it was there. I've had an opportunity this last week as mayor to talk to the Luther students who have a class on the mutable city. It's always interesting to speak to that particular class. They're here every year, but we have one of the students is an intern here at the city, Ren, and they will be with us for the semester. Most of the rest of the interns are in a variety of locations throughout the city, but a lot of them at Mayo and doing a DMC time there. So it was interesting because they all have backgrounds in IT and all sorts of other areas, but they're learning about the development of a city and growth of a city. So it's fascinating, but I had an opportunity to speak with them. I've been doing it now for 3 semesters, really a great opportunity. Lastly, I think most of you know it's been
I Love to Read Month, so I've had an opportunity to go into the schools and do some reading. And if any of you want a day brightener, I have a stack about this deep of thank you notes from some of the students. And they're I get a good chuckle and a big smile and a full heart after you read those notes. So I have a huge pile of them in there. And while they're directed at me, they really aren't, because the work that happens in the city is done by our employees and all of you setting policy. And the letters are filled with gratitude for all we have in the city and how safe it feels and how great the parks are. And they go on and on with public safety, how they feel safe in their city. So really cool. And I wanted to just share that with you because the city is the way it is because of the team effort that everybody puts into it. So just a couple slides here. So one of the things that you voted on the January 22nd meeting was affirming the International Relations Committee, which was formerly known as the International Affairs Committee. And so it's been a committee that was around for many years and promotes peace through mutual respect, understanding, cooperation, and diplomacy. And so, as they say, it's one individual at a time, one community at a time for the benefit of Rochester and the other sister cities, the residents here as well. So we are in the works of setting up growing the membership of the International Committee, but also the sister cities, the individual sister cities committees. So we just are looking at an overarching committee that will support the work of each of those sister city groups, but also support the international affairs and information in the city, which is a very international city, through our visitors and our residents as well. So we've had a couple booths out in the public at different events, and the reception, particularly among many of our immigrant families, has been very positive, and they're thrilled that we're doing this. So we have had some people sign up already, but we would love to have to continue to grow that. And as I mentioned, the Sister Cities program is the major part of what will happen here, and we are populating those committees as well. So I will share with you here our sister cities. Some of you, if you've been up near my office up there, there's a display, so you might have seen these, but Akita, Japan, Kathmandu, Nepal, Moosburg, Germany, Munster, Germany, and that's not an official sister city, but we have a very deep and long-standing relationship with Munster, studying energy and climate change. And then Siang, South Korea, and Shenyang, China. So these relationships, it says here, the committees will help reestablish relationships which were kind of broken during the pandemic, as we all were hunkered down in our own homes and cities. People are getting out and traveling again, and so we're reestablishing the sister city relationships. And out in the lobby and in my office, if anyone is interested in traveling to Germany, we will be doing a sister city trip to Germany, September 20th through 29th. Everyone's private paying for their own trips, but we will be going to Moosburg, which is the sister city that we've had since Mayor Chekazama signed it. When I was there, I think it was the 40th anniversary, so it's been around for a long time. And we will visit there. It will be during the last 2 days of their fall festival, which is sort of like their mini Oktoberfest. So it's a huge city celebration with a parade, and we've been asked to participate in that if we'd like. And then we will be traveling throughout the week to get to Munster. And even though it's a small country, we're stopping along the way. But 2 days in Moosburg traveling and spending our last days in Munster, which is, we'll be doing a bike tour of the city. If people can't bike, we'll certainly have a walking option for them. And then we will end before we head off to Amsterdam. We'll be going through Saarbrück, Germany, which is one of the cities that I think has been most exciting for those of us that have had the relationship with Munster, because Saarbrück was a city in Germany that decided to be off the grid or creating all their own energy from local sources. And they had a goal to do it like 8 years out or something when they started it, and they did it in half the time and actually sell energy onto the grid. So it's a very exciting community with lots of solar panels and wind farms, and it's extremely unique, and we're going to swing by that on their way home. So if anyone is interested, there's brochures available, and I would love to chat with you. So you can contact me here at City Hall. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mayor. We will move on to approving the order of the agenda. Any changes I should be made aware of?
I'd like to move to approve the order of the agenda.
Second.
Right, Councilmember Keen?
Just for anybody watching our meeting, it's going to get a little confusing at the end of our meeting because we're gonna go into economic development group, which is a little confusing because we adjourn and then come back and then accept the meetings, and then we're going into closed session. So the ending will be a little murky for those watching, but stay tuned.
We'll walk you through it. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda. Councilmember Dennis is pulling item F14. Is there anything else? That will be discussed under reports and recommendations. I will invite a motion to approve in block F1 through 13, F15 through 17.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Bransford, you have the floor.
Nothing to add.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to our public hearings. Right, I always take a second to go through our process here. We invite staff to do an introduction and then have the applicant, if there is one, come speak, or representative of the applicant speak for up to 10 minutes. We open the public hearing. Those of you who would like to speak on one of the public hearing items have up to 5 minutes, of course, with the encouragement of keeping your comments brief. We close the public hearing. The applicant has a chance to provide a rebuttal for up to 5 minutes. Then we have a clarifying questions and discussion and vote on council. Our first item is city driven, so there is not an applicant, but I have Mr. Dombrowski here to introduce the item. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, President, members of the council. We've been doing a number of these lately, so I think you're growing more familiar with the assessment process and our new assessment policy that was adopted in 2023. Again, we presented the feasibility report for the 4th Avenue Southwest reconstruction from 16th Street to 14th Street last month. At that meeting, you adopted the report and scheduled tonight's project hearing. This is the first of 2 hearings that will be conducted as part of the assessment process. So tonight with the project, we're looking for the council to order the reconstruction of the project, for us to prepare the plans, to adopt a resolution to set that next hearing on March 18th, and then order the official assessment roll to be prepared. So with this project, as I mentioned last month, it's a full reconstruction, all utilities, roadway. The assessments do not include the utilities unless we encounter, and it is in the packet, a lead service, or the homeowner decides we want our service replaced. We do have a number for replacing a water service. However, that only happens in those 2 instances. Many times we don't do any of the water service full repairs. So really the assessments, again, we take the roadway portion, we take out 25% of that cost, and then we spread that over the different properties based on the property valuation. So those are the numbers you will see on the official roll next month at the hearing if we move forward with the 4 requested actions tonight. So with that, I will pause for the hearing and then be ready for questions.
All right, so I will open the public hearing for G1. Again, that is the reconstruction of sections of 4th Avenue Southwest and 14th Street Southwest. And I have a couple people signed up. I have Lee Smick. And please introduce yourself. You have 5 minutes, and again, I'll be using this little clock
bet.
contraption.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mayor, members of the council. I'm curious as far as the assessment of this reconstruction. What's the instigation for the reconstruction? STEM school is right next door. Is there the possibility of a limit of access to the STEM school on 16th, where both the ingress and egress would be deleted and traffic would come through at the end on the north side of the STEM school on 14th and go through 4th Avenue? Is there an increase in traffic? Does anybody have traffic numbers? Is there roadway enhancement as far as how much traffic? Are we looking possibility of an arterial? What are we looking at as far as that? Traffic counts, we're going to need to see those as well, we're hoping. Is there going to be a share from the STEM school as far as the 25%? If if the closure on 16th for the STEM school is going to instigate the need for this reconstruction. I know that there's a spring in front of 1534. I should back up. My parents have owned the house at 1534 since 1972. They passed on. My sister Maureen Smick is now the owner. Um, Let me also tell you that I'm a certified city planner, been one for almost 25 years. So I'm a little bit um, knowledgeable about what we're looking at here. I have all these questions. The other thing is I'm curious about is bringing the assessment before the plans are shown. Forgive me, I'm not up to date on your assessment process. So you're gonna have to forgive me. Somebody can let me know on that process. If this is the way you guys do things, because typically I've seen where you pull the plans first, you do the plans, and then you do the assessment. So that's where I'm at as far as that. Um, and one more time, we're going to upgrade the road for the amount of traffic possibly that will start to spill out on the north side and then come up Fourth Avenue. Is there a possibility of a roundabout if STEM school is no longer going to have the opportunity to access onto 16th? These are questions that I think the group might want to know about a little bit more before we start looking at an assessment requirement. Um, uh, just lost my train of thought. But I think we need to, before the assessment, start to pull the plans and start understanding those before we start getting the assessments. But once again, forgive me, you guys might have a different idea how you do your assessment process. That's all I had.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll ask some of those as follow-up. Carrie Van Sickle. Please introduce yourself and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Carrie Van Sickle. I'm also a 1527 Fourth Ave neighbor right across the street. In addition, we have a couple of questions because our street is a heavy bus line. So I wonder if there's an opportunity for the city to pick up a little bit more of the cost because we have a bus line that goes by 22 times a day. And that's a lot. And then also the STEM school, that was also a question because up at the top of the line there, that is primarily where all of their buses come out every morning and afternoon to get children. So that's a lot of bus traffic on our otherwise kind of quiet street. And then my one other question is that the city packet on the assessment says that one of the conditions is that the assessment does not exceed the special benefit measured by the increase in market value due to the improvement. And we're curious how that is determined. And like our homes, I think are ranked pretty tight to the line of what they could assess for. And so another 5 to 8 grand on that. I'm curious if that's a possibility and if anybody cares about nice streets besides those of us that are living on it. So, okay, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to speak on this item? G1, last call. All right, we'll close the public hearing and I'm hoping Mr. Dombrowski can walk us through some of the responses.
Sure. I think I'll start with just the assessment process in general. So this follows the state statute. We have to go exactly as the statute lays it out. First step is a report, which then gets us to this first hearing tonight where the council then authorizes plans. The final assessment doesn't occur till the second hearing. Some cities choose to wait until the project's complete. Some choose to do that first. Rochester, we've always done that assessment hearing up front. We want to understand what's happening. Are we facing a number of objections? Is it going to potentially impact the project where if we were to wait until after the project, you don't know that you're going to be able to recover all the funding stream. So we need to know up front, and that's how we've always done it here. You have the option to do it either way. As far as, so that's really, it's really, we have to follow the state statute. That's chapter 429. And as far as traffic, the design, nothing is really changing about this street. I'm not sure what the STEM school comments are, but they're not closing any of their access points on 16th Street. So we're not trying to divert additional traffic to this roadway. It's really due to the age and condition of both the utilities underneath the street and the street itself. As we look at the street section, it's actually going to be a little bit narrower. Our new design for a two-way street with parking on each side is narrower than many of our streets, honestly, in this community were constructed decades ago. So that's going to help with traffic calming in itself. So I think that kind of sums up some of the things we heard.
The special benefit.
Yes, the special benefit is, that's part of the statute. So assessments cannot be greater than the benefit received by the property. The property owner has the option to get their own appraisal and determine if they don't agree with the benefit to the property as part of the assessment process. We as a city do not go ahead and do a benefit appraisal up front. It's pretty costly. When we did it on Broadway, it was nearly $50,000. What we learned is we were being challenged more when we had higher assessment rates. So like with this corridor, these assessment rates are around 2.3% of the property value, which when we had that benefit appraisal on Broadway, the percentages we were given for the different property types range from 2 to 7%. So this is, well in line what we've done before when we have had to do a benefit appraisal.
Other questions? Councilmember Keen?
I think we missed one of the questions. I thought there was a question on what the original reason for this street being chosen for reconstruction.
Sure, it's again, the aging utilities and the roadway, both pavement and sewer and water.
So this,
Beneath
and
the
I did
road.
want to just establish this is like sort of like whenever we dig out the street because of utilities, that gives us the choice to say, do we want to rebuild it? And that's where we're at this one. That's how this street was chosen.
Yes, we have a priority list that RPU provides us. And so we go and we compare, and I can't remember, this was in their top 5. They have like an ongoing running list of 25 projects around the community. This was in the top 5 based on all the breaks that have occurred through this street over the years. So then we start to match that up with what's the age of our utilities beneath, what is the pavement condition, what is the age of that? So that we're not doing one project and 3, 5, 7 years later coming in and tearing it up to do another one. We like to work in coordination so that we get in, we do the project, the roadway is going to last for 50 years, utilities for even longer.
Okay, and then the other question about like if a street is not just a residential, if it's also an arterial or other thing like the bus routes. I mean, I know we don't take that into consideration on our assessment process. Do you want to talk to that a little bit, or why we don't take it into account?
Yeah, it really comes down to, again, this is a residential street. We do have local bus routes that use our local streets, but the assessment policy does not define the classification of the roadway and how we treat the improvements that are occurring.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Palmer? Question?
Yeah, yes, thank you. Mr. Keen asked most of my questions, but the only other question is you are available if somebody has a question tomorrow or sometime.
Yes, yeah,
Call you to answer any
for
of the
sure.
questions.
I can answer most of the questions or connect people with, if it becomes a water question, or I can connect people. We're always there to answer questions. for
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you. Councilmember Wall?
I have 2 questions. What would influence any change in the assessment role between now and March 18th?
We would have to make some sort of policy change, or the council would have to add a motion, a condition to the actions tonight that would change something that's been presented.
Okay, so it would be the same list that comes back on March 18th.
Yes.
Okay. And second, I understand that the water service assessments, really very few of them, you talked about the conditions, but really very few of them actually come to bear in terms of being charged what we see on the list?
Correct. So all the roadway, that column, that will happen, but unless we encounter a material type like a lead service, or sometimes RPU has a property owner who says, I really want to have my service repaired. RPU's policy is the service is 100% the property owner from the main all the way to the home. So we include these numbers. We're conservative. Like I said, many times it doesn't happen, but we have it in here and documented in the event that we're in the field and that's what shakes out.
Thank you.
And I think I would add one more thing, just anecdotally. These are the maximum assessments.
Yeah.
Last year when we had that project at Sunset Terrace on the south side, the bids came in good, and the total quantities and with the unit pricing we received, we actually, I think I've told you this before, the assessments that went out and went to the county, if people didn't pay them up front, were much less than what was presented. And then we actually had some people who paid up front based on the original assessment roll. We had to give them a rebate essentially because they paid too much. So I'm not saying that happens on every project, but we're hopefully in a good bidding environment again this year.
All right, Mayor Norton.
Yeah, thank you. I'm thinking about some of the comments about, concern about increased traffic, which I'm hearing you say that's not the intent. This is just redoing a road that needs to be redone. And that there's heavy bus traffic already on this street. Someone talked about that. And then you said you're actually narrowing the street. If I
Correct. Our
heard that
current,
correctly.
our typical section for a local street, two lanes of traffic parking on each side is actually narrower than most of our streets were constructed, during this time frame.
So you will narrow the street during this process, and so will people's curbs get larger then? Will they have
Yeah,
more dirt and grass?
There'll be more boulevard as well as, obviously there's less pavement to go in, so there's less cost for the project as
Okay.
well.
I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, a motion?
And, I guess I have one other question. Mr. Dombrowski, I think you began talking about three different things, but there's actually a four-part motion that we're being asked to consider. One is the ordering the reconstruction, and then it's preparing the plans. And I think you grouped that into one. I was going to do a motion with all four.
Yeah, we would, all four could be in one motion.
Okay, so I would move a four-part motion to order the reconstruction. To number two, order the preparation of the plans. Number three, adopt the resolution setting the assessment hearing. And number four, order the preparation of the assessment rolls.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Keen, you have the floor.
I just have a couple of comments here that when I first got on council about, and it's almost 5 years ago now, we went through a major upheaval with how we were doing assessments. What we're finding is the inequity between how we were assessing residential versus commercial property. And we really did kind of settle on this. And I want to state that we work very hard to try to keep that consistent. I'm hoping these get lower, but one thing I've noticed too is our projects, especially when we do small street reconstructions, we end up paying more per foot because of the smaller projects. When you have bigger projects, you seem to get nominally slightly better rates spread across property. These do look, these assessments looking through the list did, like when I was thinking of the value of the homes and then the assessment sizes, it was kind of scary. But again, I do believe that this kind of work will improve the value of the properties because of the road being better. I also want to speak in favor of that idea of narrowing the roads. This is where we do engineering work to improve our public safety by narrower streets will help us with our speed problems on some of these streets, and it does give back some other boulevard space. So I think those are good. Again, I feel for when this happens in certain neighborhoods, there is ways to the city will help in terms of if you have to finance it over 10 years. I'm hoping we don't have to go that way, and I'm hoping these do work that we'll get them reduced before they show up. But again, I want to support this because I want to see us rebuilding our roads over each year, making, kind of contributing to improving the roads or our street quality for the future.
Thank you, Mr. Keen. Other discussion? All right, all in favor of the four-part motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to item G2. And this is the final plat number CD 2024-001 plat to be known as Hunter Valley Estates. The applicant has asked for a continuation of this public hearing to March 18th to clarify some language in the 17 conditions. We will go ahead and do an introduction to the item by staff, allow the applicant to speak, and then for anybody who has come tonight who wants to speak on item G2, we'll open the public hearing. You're welcome to speak. Or if we can approve continuing it, then we would also have an opportunity on March 18th. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Mikio to introduce the item.
Thank you, President Carlson, Mayor Norton, members of the council. Good evening. Desmond McGill, Community Development. This is a subdivision plat for essentially 8 lots and 5 outlots located at the southwest corner of 55th Street and 18th Avenue Northwest. The applicant has requested a continuance that we just recently received to ask for some clarification and to discuss some of the conditions. So we will bring this back to you on March 18th. I do not believe any of those conditions would have any substantial change to what the council is seeing tonight. We'll come back on March 18th, generally with the same final plat. It pretty much just pertains to the conditions have been attached. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any of me.
All right, thank you. Would the applicant or representative of the applicant like to speak? See if we have anybody online. If you're joining virtually to speak, you use the raise hand function or press *9. I do not see anybody, so we will open the public hearing and ask my colleagues to consider a motion to continue to March 18th.
I'll move to continue to March 18th.
Second.
Right. Councilmember Keen, any discussion?
Again, let's see if there is public comment time, but I guess I would ask that we suspend our rules and allow response to and questions if even with our split public hearing.
I didn't, sorry, I didn't have anybody signed up to speak. Was there anybody who wanted to speak on item G2?
There was, but he went home and he'll be back next.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I just skipped right over that part because I didn't have anybody, but,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
right. Go ahead, Councilmember Palmer.
I did talk to two people in the neighborhood and they will be coming back in March 18th to speak.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion to continue to March 18th, keeping the public hearing open, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. So we don't have any pre-planned reports and recommendations, but we do have a pulled item by Councilmember Dennis. So that is F14, the 2024 Outside Agency Services Agreement. Go ahead, Councilmember Dennis, and Ms. Elms is here for questions.
All right, thank you. Yes, so I am on the outside agency committee. So I had the privilege and honor to listen to all the organizations come and talk about their needs and their plans for helping the community in the future. And I was awe-inspired and feel like we should wish the city could do more and fund more to these amazing organizations that benefit our community so greatly. I pulled the item and I went back to look at the meeting from that evening or that afternoon, and the audio did not work on the city site, which I know we've been having a lot of issues with city audio as we do with our speaking mute. My speaking is a little bit muted too, just my ongoing laryngitis. But also so I couldn't go back to look at the exact information from the October 10th meeting, but I would like a little more clarification on the funding for the Rochester Olmsted Youth Council. I know I was the liaison, the ambassador, the person who attended all the Rochester Olmsted Youth Commission meetings for quite some time, and that program was sunsetted. And talked to several youth who greatly missed that program, and other people who are concerned with how that program is now being transitioned into not of the county, but more of the city when it looks at commission versus council, county commission, city council, and how that is being run, what the purpose of that commission, that council is, because I never really got a full explanation. And as a former school teacher and of course a huge advocate for youth, I am supporting the funding of anything that can benefit the future of our city through the youth committees and commissions, but just to make sure that funding is going and being used for very transparently and for reasonings that aren't maybe focused on agendas that maybe the city has versus the youth.
Councilmember Dennis, your question is what the funding for the
I
youth
would,
is?
no, I just would like a little bit more explanation because I know the mayor has been involved with the transformation. There's been other people who have been involved with. I have been taken off of that for some reason. And so has other county commissioners who have been involved in that process without our knowledge or our liking. So I have been kept in a little bit of the dark on the transition.
So is
So
your question that you want to know what the funding is being used for?
yes, I would like to know what the funding is used for and also the mission of the council.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Ms. Elms.
Thank you, Councilmember Dennis, council members. So this has kind of been evolution over the last year and a half. And when the discussion of the Youth Commission started, it came to us from the county, actually from Olmsted County, talking about wanting to make sure that if there was an opportunity to rejoin and have one council, that they would be interested in that. And so we worked through that process. There was a fair amount of information that went out to city council at that time. The city council has voted now on 2 budgets that have $10,000 for the youth council. The youth actually met and they were all engaged in a process for about it might have been more like 9 months, to actually talk through what they wanted to self kind of create what they wanted to have and what they wanted to focus on. There was an application process and anyone was welcome to apply. They set their agendas and they schedule what they want to meet about. And one of the things that they indicated is that they would not necessarily need to have regular attendance by any specific adults, if you will, but that they wanted to invite people for topical information that they were interested in. And so that's what they've been doing. The funding primarily is for if there's travel related to any youth commissioner that wants to attend a related training or something of that nature. And if you have done that, and also to support the county's staff person that helps to support the commission. So they actually have a dedicated portion of a staff member. But this is about a service agreement. So
Yeah,
Guess I'd invite a motion.
yeah, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the 2024 outside agency service agreements for the organizations listed on packet page 76.
Second.
Councilmember Keen?
No, I mean, again, I think these are always interesting and there's like a lot of tension involved in how much we support certain of these groups for. Some of us have our favorites and want to push more toward, but we've been through those discussions with the budget. Tonight's action is really authorizing and allowing the staff to execute on these.
Okay, other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay. We have a couple of first readings of ordinances. Mr. Spindler Craig, take us away.
Thank you, Madam President. There are 2 first readings. The first is item J1, an ordinance creating and enacting section 3.027 of the Home Rule Charter of the City of Rochester relating to office holder cannot serve on charter commission. Moving on to item J2, an ordinance of the City of Rochester repealing and replacing in its entirety Chapter 10-2 relative to local sales tax.
And second reading?
Thank you. There's 1 second reading, item K1, an ordinance creating and enacting Chapter 2-19 of Title 2 of the Rochester Code of Ordinances relating to the establishment of Transit and Parking Department.
Move approval.
Second.
Councilmember Keen, you have the floor.
Nothing to add.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. We don't have any tabled items. So as part of our other business tonight, this is where it gets a little complicated, but I'd invite a motion to recess the council meeting for a meeting of the Rochester Economic Development Authority.
So moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. So the meeting is recessed, and now I'd like to call to order the Rochester Economic Development Authority meeting for February 21st, 2024. We do have one item on the consent agenda. I'd invite a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember King?
Nothing.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries for the consent agenda item, which was the meeting minutes from June 5th. No, have public hearings. We do have several reports and recommendations. Oh, are you coming up to join us, Mr. Svenby? All right, so we will start with 5A, which is the 2024 appointment of officers for the Rochester Economic Development Authority. Go ahead, Brent Svenby.
Good evening, President Carlson, members of the EDA there. Brett Sunby, Community Development. Based on the bylaws for the EDA, every year you have to elect a president, vice president, secretary, assistant treasurer, and treasurer. Staff will recommend that the assistant treasurer be the finance director, the secretary be the city clerk, and then the EDA members should discuss the president, vice president, and the treasurer position and make a motion to those appointments.
Again, the motion is that the officers for the EDA are, and it just, it is listed in the motion, or do you want names?
We want names for each position.
Okay.
Motion,
So I would move approval for the following board for the 2024 EDA officers: President Carlson, Vice President Palmer, Treasurer Keen, Assistant Treasurer, City Finance Director, and Secretary, City Clerk.
Second.
Any discussion, Councilmember Keen? You can.
No, again, I think this is important that we do establish this and pay attention to the EDA as an important part of our responsibilities.
Councilmember Dennis.
Yeah, I have just a question. So how are the council members chosen for this? Because I believe we haven't had a lot of variety in people holding this position. Is it just defaulted into the people who have held the position? How is that chosen again? I just, for clarification.
Do you want to say something?
I did my motion based on what it was existing before. So if someone want to make a different motion, they could try that.
but typically the ED does not meet very often throughout the year. So the motion by Mr. Keen has the same members from 2023 as 2024. As usually the EDA president is the council president, and then typically the vice president and treasurer are decided among the members, but based on not meeting too often throughout the year, it's probably best continuation with the members appointed last year to 2024.
I just would like to see maybe more variety when we look at choosing our committee assignments and what our preferences are and our strengths and our passions. And this, of course, is something that I think more council perhaps should have experience doing in the future. So I am not going to amend or, rock the boat with people who have already wanted and committed and researched this. But I think in the future, perhaps we should have looking at so many times that a council member can serve so that we can get new voices. Thank you.
Really is all of us together on the dais that is the EDA, except for me who's signing documents to either hold the EDA or to approve the contract. So it really is, this is the EDA, we're all part of it.
No, these are only the officers.
These are the officers, should some issue come up, or should I be absent, the vice president, I assume, could sign for me.
Correct.
Yes. Councilmember Keen.
I'd like to amend the motion and change the treasurer from Councilmember Keen to Councilmember Dennis.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Keen.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Dennis makes a good point. There's no reason that I should just sit in this position. I'm very comfortable with her taking it.
I have several other committees that I'm on, but I've been more than welcome and to get experience on this committee as well. So thank you.
Right, all in favor say aye to the motion as amended.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. So Carlson, Palmer, Dennis.
That was you. We approved the motion. We didn't
We approve the amendment.
the amendment. We still have to approve the motion. Yeah.
No, we.
But she said as
it's
amended.
placed
Oh, as amended.
As amended.
Okay. Right. All right.
No, it was clearly as amended.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we had to approve the motion first and then we had to approve the amendment and then approve the motion. But if you can do it in one step.
The slate of officers with replacing
Yep.
Dennis for Keen.
Again, it's just a statement of rules. I thought I was amending the motion. I thought we had to approve the amendment and then approve the motion, but I think you can do it in one step.
All right, moving on. Mr. Svenby, where'd you go? Come on back. You're here for the whole
No, the next
meeting.
items are Mr. Anderson's.
Wait, say that
The
again?
next two items are Mr. Anderson's.
Oh, okay. Mr. Anderson, welcome. Your first agenda item with us. It is F5B 2024 Rochester EDA budget. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. So before you, we have the 2024 proposed EDA budget. And with that, there are no material changes to this budget. As you can see, everything is pretty consistent from year to year. And I did have assistance with this. And then the following page with the budget too, you can also see that there's Minnesota Bio Business Center and Development Service Center operations and debt coverage as well too, which resorts back into the budget itself too. So as you can see, a lot of it is basically debt service payments, the four that we have for series 2007, 8, 9, and 2020A is really a lot of what the budget consists of, as you can see. So not a lot of activity outside of that, and consistent year over year, and really nothing additional to report at this time.
Are there questions from Mr. Anderson? Otherwise, motion?
I'll make a motion adopting the resolution approving the proposed Rochester Economic Development Authority 2024 budget.
Second.
Councilmember Palmer,
Enough's been said.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, thank you. Great job.
One more.
Oh, you have another one.
If you want me to do it, I can do it now.
Yeah.
So the second, another
Yes.
resolution before us, adopting resolution designating the U.S. Bank of Rochester and Wells Fargo Bank of Rochester as depositories for public funds for the Economic Development Authority. And basically, we have two banks on there simply because we currently bank with Wells Fargo on a daily basis, and the U.S. Bank is the one that we pay the debt service issuance to.
Questions? Or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Palmer, you have the floor.
Enough's been said.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, now we're back to Mr. Svenby. Thanks, Mr. Anderson. It is 5D, assignment, assumption, and third amendment to the development assistance agreement with residents at Discovery Square LLC.
Yeah, this evening before you, asking for adoption of a resolution addressing the assignment, assumption, and a third amendment to the development assistance agreement for TIF District 61-1, known as residents at Discovery Square. Basically, the property was sold last year via contract for deed, so the resolution kind of takes care of some of those housekeeping items with the assignment and the assumption of the development assistance agreement. And then the development assistance agreement adopted for the property talks about a project having approximately 143 units of apartments in that building. When the property was constructed or built, some of the units were converted from 2 units into 1 big unit for student housing. And then recently, last fall, the new owner received a permit to convert the south half of the atrium from some commercial space into some residential units. So the amendment to the development assistance agreement will give a range of units for that building to account for the additional units and the units that were converted, in case those units that were converted into student housing were converted back to regular units. So that would address that concern at that time. So we're asking adoption of a resolution.
And they're still meeting the affordability requirement.
Correct. Any units they add would be 20% would be subject to more affordable.
Other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Keen.
I just want to understand the language. You said they received a permit. That's from us, right?
Well, from the Building and Safety Department, they received a permit to add additional units to the building.
Did not come to council.
Did not have to come to
No,
council.
that's what I mean.
Based
A
on-
permit from the city.
Correct.
I thought you were using passive voice and I wasn't sure why that was. I'm trying to understand though that just make sure the, when we do these TIF agreements, we always have like the but for kind of things, and it sounds like we're finding new uses. Is there any sort of step back on this and saying the financials that we approved TIF under have changed because they're using the building differently? There's
No, there's still requirement for commercial uses and stuff in that building and up for market rate and also affordable units in the building, so it's still meeting the intent of
Okay,
the tip that was.
that's probably the right word. There's still the intent and the financials haven't changed
Correct,
in any
have not, no.
significant. All right, thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, for the action requested.
Second.
Councilmember Palmer?
Question said.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Mr. Svenby, 5E, the second amendment to the Development Assistance Agreement with Brick Apartments Rochester LLC.
For this item, we are asking for a resolution authorizing a second amendment to the Development Assistance Agreement with the Brick Apartments. Basically, it's just amending language within the Development Assistance Agreement, as currently the Development Assistance Agreement calls the General Straight Infrastructure Aid for the project as a loan. And when we tried to certify the city expenditures of GSA dollars, deed will not allow the city to count those dollars because they're classified as a loan, which may be paid back to the city. So working with deed representatives to get that language that would satisfy deed, they all are okay with basically changing the word loan to a reimbursement. So that's what this resolution does. It will amend the development agreement to change that wording from a loan to a reimbursement. And then that way we can count it in our annual certification of GSA dollars.
Because it is actually in the form of a reimbursement.
It's still, yeah, it's still the same thing, yeah. The loan, yeah, the money's still given to the developer, but if they do not meet the obligations of the development, those dollars will be paid back to the city. However, we cannot recount those dollars as additional spent in GSA dollars. So
So it changes nothing other
changes
than the
nothing,
language. Okay.
just some wordage in the development agreement.
Right.
Correct.
Based on that explanation, I'd move adoption of the resolution authorizing the second amendment.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Keen?
No, again, it's important. I think that we watch that as these changes come, that we still have like the spirit of what we were trying to accomplish with it. And it sounds like staff is watching out.
Nothing changes in the development, correct.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you so much, Mr. Swenby. All right, so having completed the items in the EDA agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting of the EDA.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Now I'll call back to order the meeting of the city council and entertain a motion to adopt the findings of the EDA.
So moved.
All right, Councilmember Keen,
No, nothing to add.
any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. So we are in the middle of other business for our city council meeting. And is there any other business? Member Dennis?
Great, thank you. So I just wanted to point out for those who aren't familiar with council, where we changed meeting times. It started at 6, and before the EDA came to be brought up, we were only at about 45 minutes, so it's a very short meeting. And so I would again encourage that meetings be balanced, because some of the meetings, as time goes on, go into several hours long. And I think when you have public in participation and people who are wanting to stay alert, late into the night, that meetings maybe could be more robust with more content early on, so that this meeting, instead of getting over with in an hour, if the EDA didn't occur, it would be an hour long. So that was my a couple moments of that. I also saw that today was School Bus Driver Appreciation Day, and they are my heroes, not just school bus drivers, but the city bus drivers and all bus drivers. So I just want to give a shout out to those who have to juggle so many different dynamics to do an amazing job of getting people to essential services. So I just want to thank everyone who are involved in transportation. And then just another shout out for transparency. I say this a lot. Transparency is trust. the more transparent, the more we can do things, so the public knows what is happening, the more, um, true, authentic and good government we can have. So I know there's been meetings behind closed doors, locked doors, and I just want to say that I would like it possibly to make it more easy for residents to get information. We see that when people data pull or a data request, it's very difficult sometimes because a lot of data is labeled in different ways. If it's pending litigation, right, or if it's whatever the situation is, the information is sealed from the public. And then I saw City Administrator Zelms texting. I've seen Mayor Norton texting, and I just want to point out that I was informed that all text messages and emails that happen during meetings are in fact public knowledge and are open to public data requests. So I just want to just elaborate that I would hope that those information would be more accessible to the public when they ask for those to be.
I'll just share right now that I was texting my loved one who is ice fishing and making sure he was okay, and also thanking Captain Turk for being here for anyone who would like to know. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Also say that
Also
I
like to add-
communicate with our clerk via text, so
It's not,
about
that's not-
procedure.
I'm not criticizing
let's
that.
just,
I'm not criticizing.
Also
the
like to
city.
add into
Not
the
criticizing
record that I did
texting.
not do one text
Control.
today.
Yeah, I'm just,
move on.
I'm just informing the public that they are all public knowledge.
If you're texting with a
also not how
constituent,
data
it's not
practices
public
works.
knowledge. Yes.
It is,
That was a bunch of
perhaps that we could get
misinformation. Let's
clarification.
just move on.
How is that city?
Clarify what is public knowledge when
No.
it comes to course. I think that's a legitimate question.
I will briefly address this just because it's not accurate what was stated so far. So just the suggestion that all text messages during a council meeting are public, that's just not correct. The continued suggestions that there's closed door meetings or behind locked doors suggesting that there's something improper about that
I'm not suggesting, please don't.
Councilmember
Is-
Dennis, Mr. Spindler Craig has the floor.
is also inappropriate. We do have some locked doors in City Hall for good reason. We have data that is not public data. And we have meetings that, yes, are between private individuals or employees and in circumstances that are not and should not be open to the public. And there's absolutely nothing improper about that. Relative to data practices responses, we have professionals who respond to data requests very deliberately and carefully following the law.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to clarify just so that we don't attribute motive or assume intent, but I never suggested that. So I text my children on occasion, making sure they got home from school okay or whatnot. So I definitely not, I'm not saying texting is bad in any way. I'm just saying that I've heard from other elected officials and other offices that it is public
Yes,
knowledge.
correct.
So-
And that's the point, is that you're attempting to essentially provide legal advice to your colleagues that is wrong.
That's why I asked you, Mr.
I'm
Spindler
going to
Craig,
hand it over to
clarify.
Mr. Spindler Craig to help us with the adjournment to our closed session.
I have,
Mr. Spindler
one
Craig,
more.
please help us with our adjournment to the closed session.
Yes, Madam President, consistent with the posted agenda, would encourage the council to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 subdivision 3C3 to consider the purchase price of properties identified as Morris Memorial Subdivision Outlots A, B, and C with parcel identification numbers of 74134083464. That's outlot A. Outlot B, same number, abbreviated last two digits 65. Outlot C, last two digits 66. We'll adjourn to room 320 at a time that you believe appropriate.
All right. We will,
President Carlson, point of clarification. I had other business. I was still going to bring it. I don't see I don't see city administrator or the mayor being cut off during their announcement or their speak their talk. So I just would like to say I had a couple other items
Okay.
that I would like to present, other business that I was
Thank you
cut
for
off
that,
on
but we were
yesterday.
moving
Thank you.
into unproductive territory, so I made the call. You're welcome to question me on it.
I would like to question you on that because you don't know what I had left to present. I think I should be able to continue with other business and not be cut off.
All right, otherwise, is there a motion to adjourn to our closed session pursuant Minnesota statutes 13D.05 subdivision 3C3?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. We will convene at 7:15,
320
3:20.
upstairs.